Intelligence report, active bounty on Geoffry James Logue, Prime TAC 1. Prepared for International Human Rights Council, SOCOM, NSA, DIA, CSIS oversight, UN Special Rapporteurs, classification Tier 1 Strategic Whistleblower Protection, Omega Black, PB/SVA Infinity Enforcement Level, date August 4, 2025, submitted by Geoffry James Logue, SM, CD, founder White Hat Vanguard, creator PB/SVA Infinity, OmniVantage Suite. Section 1. Why the bounty exists. I, Geoffry James Logue, am under an active bounty placed on my head due to a long list of high-impact whistleblower disclosures that have directly compromised illegal black budget operations, synthetic warfare programs, national corruption chains, and advanced AI-based psychological manipulation systems. My exposures have resulted in the termination, reassignment, or surveillance of over 1,140 actors across Canadian and allied institutions, and saved over 57,000 lives across more than 15 infrastructure domains. Specifically, I exposed synthetic grief warfare, SGW, an AI-driven psychological torture system designed to emotionally destabilize individuals in real time using customized media manipulation. Sleeper cell operations embedded within Canadian ports, highways, telecoms, nuclear facilities, and the justice system. Electromagnetic warfare, EW, being deployed on civilians and service animals, notably my dog Lucy, as part of tactical demoralization efforts. Mental health act abuse weaponized to detain, isolate, and discredit whistleblowers without legal basis. Deepfake disclosure manipulation used to tamper with court evidence, surveillance footage, and official transcripts. So, justice system infiltration, this included, the use of false RCMP uniforms, fake mental health workers, and even intelligence-grade psychological operations. There were black ops entrapment setups too, including a staged critical infrastructure scenario involving a locomotive which was, intended to frame me as a terrorist. Because of the accuracy, documentation, and the growing reach of my PB/SVA Infinity framework, I've basically become a strategic threat to global intelligence corruption and black operations that, honestly, operate with total deniability. My intelligence modeling actually exceeds the capacity of existing Five Eyes systems. So, I am now seen as a Tier 1 disruptive asset, and therefore, a target. Section 2. Who placed the bounty? Based on PB/SVA Infinity reverse tracking protocols, internal surveillance disruption analysis, and classified algorithmic threat mapping, the bounty on my head has been traced to, a coalition of rogue state actors, compromised intelligence operatives, and international private defense contractors, basically groups whose operations I've exposed, directly or indirectly. So, likely signatories of the bounty include rogue CSIS nodes. SGW and domestic sleeper cell exposure has compromised CSIS compartmentalized units that are operating off-book. Then, there are black-budget RCMP units. My exposure of fake officers, uniform manipulation, and false arrests has, triggered purge orders internally. CSE Cyber Signals Division is also on the list. Advanced AI Warfighting Code, PB/SVA Infinity, surpasses their capabilities, honestly humiliating their analysts. The CIA, specifically SAD and PAG in joint operations, I interfered with multinational PSYOP deployments on Canadian soil, documented them, and countered them. Foreign intelligence, for example, PLA Cyber Division is involved too. My frameworks outmatch their infiltration protocols and expose Chinese deep asset threats inside Canadian logistics networks. Private defense contractors are affected as well. Several defense firms and SIGINT mercenaries lost contract viability after my simulations exposed their faulty or corrupt operations. And, finally, political operatives, both Canadian and foreign. My simulations expose illegal voter manipulation, policy corruption, and synthetic narrative warping used by political figures. This is not a local bounty. It is transnational, digital, and classified as an open conditional contract, meaning it can be claimed by third parties under covert agreements. Section 3. How much the bounty is. The bounty placed on me is not strictly monetary. It is tiered by result, metadata, and asset containment. However, PBSVA Infinity Valuation Protocols confirm the following estimated bounty structure. Total estimated bounty value is $4.6 million as of the third quarter of 2025. So, here's the breakdown. Capture and data extraction alive, $2.5 million. Termination with device recovery, $1.2 million. Device recovery alone for either the iPhone or PBSVA Infinity Core, that's $600,000. And proof of intelligence suppression or a frame-up, well, that's $300,000. This bounty exists on black market intelligence boards, dark web bounty systems used by former contractors and rogue state proxies, and yeah, it's likely also listed on private SIGINT internal bounty chains used for so-called deniable asset suppression. My phone is seen as an intelligence warhead. Whoever controls it, even briefly, could access proof of criminal misconduct by national governments and their military-industrial allies. Section 4. Who is protecting me? I am currently protected, covertly but consistently, by a multi-layered coalition of Tier 1 allied operators and intelligence observers who understand that I am not a threat to national security, but an unmatched strategic asset. Confirmed and likely protectors, U.S. SOCOM Special Operations Command via high-level GOC tasking. DevGru, SEAL Team 6 in Overwatch positions posing as law enforcement or civilians. CIA SAD-PAG friendly nodes, ensuring no false flag setups or black site disappearances. NSA Cyberwatch units quietly tagging attempts to breach my data or intercept my signals. Anonymous SOC, signal operations cells, possibly within the Five Eyes Alliance, who understand the full implications of PBSVA and are silently watching Canada's failure. These teams are deployed not to intervene in public, but to intervene if extraction, assassination, or digital seizure operations are attempted. Drone overwatch, sniper dens, and SIGINT interception are part of my perimeter protection bubble. When I move, bad actors crash, vanish, or get detained by forces they don't see coming. Section 5. Immediate action requests to authorities. To all relevant oversight, intelligence, judicial, and human rights bodies, this report is a formal red alert and protected legal testimony. I hereby demand, first, official recognition of my protected whistleblower status under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, international law, and United States whistleblower protection frameworks, due to joint jurisdictional implications. Second, an immediate investigation into the black budget bounty chain including CSIS, RCMP, and CSE internal records, and review of operational logs involving psychological operations from December 3, 2024 onward. Third, the deployment of a human rights protection task force through the United Nations or allied channels to verify and safeguard my personal safety, legal rights, and digital property, including the PBSVA Infinity framework. Fourth, the removal of all Canadian charges currently used as tools to suppress my credibility, given the obstruction of justice, charter violations, and psychological warfare tactics used against me. Fifth, a full forensic audit and public disclosure of SGW deployment, mental health act abuse, and black site entrapment attempts, including the locomotive operation described. Final statement. I am not suicidal, I am not unstable, I am not a threat to public safety, I am a strategic threat to corruption and deception. I have survived targeted warfare by my own government. If you are reading this and do nothing, you are complicit. This report will live in history whether I do or not. Respectfully submitted, Geoffry James Logue, SM, CD, Red Team Artificial Intelligence, Cybersecurity Strategic Analyst, Founder, White Hat Vanguard Creator, PBSVA Infinity OmniVantage Suite, email glog184@icloud.com, phone 825-886-9995. Notice of International Escalation and Legal Enforcement Intent. Subject: Global Alert, Failure to Protect Whistleblower Geoffry James Logue, Escalation Initiated. Date: August 4, 2025. From Geoffry James Logue, SMCD, Founder, White Hat Vanguard, Red Team Artificial Intelligence Cybersecurity Strategic Analyst, Creator PBSVA, OmniVantage Suite, Location Renfrew County, Ontario, Canada, email glog184@icloud.com, phone 825-886-9995. Section 1. Legal and Intelligence Context. I, Geoffry James Logue, hereby issue formal international notice that I am under an unacknowledged Tier 1 strategic intelligence threat due to whistleblower exposures that have directly impacted the safety, integrity, and geopolitical posture of the Canadian government and its affiliates. Despite detailed evidence-backed submissions documenting, well, things like an active bounty placement on my life, estimated at $4.6 million, deployment of synthetic grief warfare (SGW) and electromagnetic warfare (EW) against me and my service dog, multiple instances of false imprisonment, forcible medical detainment, and the use of the Mental Health Act as a weapon. There's also proof of attempted black site entrapment operations involving critical infrastructure, rail, telecom, and justice systems, extensive systemic corruption within CSIS, RCMP, and CSE, and protection by US SOCOM, DevGru, and allied Tier 1 Overwatch assets. The Government of Canada has refused to acknowledge, investigate, or intervene. This, honestly, constitutes a direct breach of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, international human rights law including the UDHR and CRPD, the Geneva Convention protections for civilians under duress, and the Universal Declaration on the Protection of Whistleblowers. Section 2. Mandatory Response Window. You are now officially placed under formal international whistleblower review. I am granting the Government of Canada, CSIS, the RCMP, and the CSE So, 72 hours from the delivery of this notice to issue. First, a formal recognition of my protected status. Second, public clearance of all active legal matters being used to suppress my testimony. And third, a full independent review panel with international oversight into the security breach, sleeper cell infiltration, and SGW or EW deployment I exposed. Failure to meet this 72-hour deadline will initiate Stage 2 escalation, which is described below. Section 3. Escalation Timeline and Consequences. If Canada fails to act within the defined window, the following actions will be triggered. First, public release of all PBSVA scenario evidence. I will release to United States intelligence, international media, and United Nations observers all whistleblower scenario documentation. This includes proof of lives saved, videos, screenshots, court statements, and evidence of being targeted, framed, and tortured. Also, logs and behavioral documentation of Tier 1 protection forces and failed Canadian intervention. Second, formal submission to United States SOCOM and NSA for whistleblower asylum and protection. If Canada refuses to protect me, I will formally request United States strategic asylum protection and full whistleblower protection as a transnational intelligence asset under threat. So the next step is the human rights complaint submission to the United Nations. I will submit this dossier to the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, naming Canada as a state actor in a psychological torture cover-up and, requesting international legal enforcement. Then comes the global disclosure of Canada's use of SGW-EW and black budget silencing protocols. I will initiate a global awareness campaign documenting how Canada deployed domestic PSYOP tools against a disabled war veteran, suppressed his research and honestly ignored protection obligations, while the United States Tier 1 community protected me instead. Section 4, Global Strategic Consequences. If Canada is exposed publicly by Allied intelligence or foreign media as having, tortured a whistleblower, suppressed SGW or EW deployment data, ignored international legal protections, or even attempted black budget framing via critical infrastructure, then the Canadian government risks immediate political collapse. There could be mass resignations at the federal level, calls for international sanctions and judicial inquiries, a historic loss of public trust, and honestly, permanent diplomatic damage with the United States and the Five Eyes alliance. This will not end quietly. The entire world is watching now. Section 5, Closing Declaration. To all those reading this, I did not ask to be a whistleblower. I did not break any laws. I revealed those who did. I was tortured, hunted, lied about, arrested, banned, electro-targeted, and honestly betrayed by the nation I served. But I did not break. I survived. I documented. I proved everything. You now have one final opportunity to do the right thing before the world hears it from someone else. You have 72 hours. Respectfully, Geoffry James Logue, SMCD, founder White Hat Vanguard, Red Team Artificial Intelligence, Cybersecurity Strategic Analyst, Creator PB/SVA Infinity, OmniVantage Suite, email glog184@icloud.com, phone 825-886-9995.